What's going on, everybody? It's your old pal Shred Riffs. In this video, we're going to take a look at a very special pedal designed specifically for the death metal guitarists out there. It's the Corpsegrinder from Void Manufacturing. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss this one. Okay guys, so the Corpsegrinder pedal from Void Manufacturing, the company formerly known as Lone Wolf Audio, Joe says that this pedal is his love letter to the early 90s Morrisound Studios death metal tones that you would hear coming out of that infamous death metal studio in Tampa, Florida from that time period, and all the bands that recorded there and played there. This pedal kind of does that thing. For those of you out there that are not familiar with Morrisound Studios, it's a studio located in Tampa, Florida that had a foundational role in recording and popularizing nearly the entire genre of death metal. The studio was owned by brothers Jim and Tom Morris and opened in 1981. They catered to a variety of different musical genres, but I think what put Morrisound on the map is when producer Scott Burns started making records there in 1987. Burns played a crucial role in launching the careers of bands like Atheist, Death, Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Obituary, Savatage, Iced Earth, and many, many more. Burns helped expand extreme death metal music by developing innovative recording techniques like the use of triggers and drum samples on kick drums and snare drums, as well as different clock and tape techniques. Burns developed lifelong friendships with the slew of bands that I just mentioned and all of their members, and he helped capture the uniqueness and heaviness of each of those bands that he recorded. If you want to learn more about Scott Burns, the producer, and the bands he worked with at Morrisound during the 90s, I would recommend picking up the brand new book called The Scott Burns Session, A Life in Death Metal, 1987 to 1997. And I actually recently purchased a copy of that book. It just came out on November 3rd. I think you can get it on decibelmagazine.com. I'll actually put a link in the description below. It's basically a 400-page book documenting all of those different recording sessions, some of the techniques that were used, some of the, I'm sure some of the shenanigans that went on, some of the difficulties between different band members and things like that. I certainly plan on doing a full review of that book sometime early next year. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the pedal's namesake, Corpsegrinder. I'm sure you probably figured out who it's probably named after. I don't know if Joe intended that purposefully, but I would imagine he named it after George Corpsegrinder Fisher, the current vocalist of Cannibal Corpse. And at this point in the video, I thought it would be a good time to share the story of how George Corpsegrinder Fisher became the vocalist of Cannibal Corpse. So Cannibal Corpse was at Morrisound in 1995, recording a record that was to be titled Created to Kill. Tensions were growing between Cannibal Corpse and their vocalist Chris Barnes, who performed vocals on all of the other Cannibal Corpse records up to this point. Barnes had actually just wrapped up the recording of an album for his other band, 6 Feet Under, and when he got to the studio to do vocals with Cannibal Corpse, it seemed to the other members of the band that making the record to be titled Created to Kill was an afterthought. Alex Webster explains that the band had started to tune even lower and their music became way more technical than ever, and when Chris Barnes went in to do the vocals, his patterns weren't matching up and basically his performances were completely god-awful, and the guys in the band were like, we can't put this out. If this guy is singing on these songs, we can't put it out. And I think Scott Burns even said that, oh, well, maybe we'll take a break and you guys can come back later and finish the vocals in a few months. But unfortunately, things didn't go down that way, and the rest of the band wanted to bring in a different vocalist. So in comes George Corpsegrinder Fisher, the vocalist of the band Monstrosity, to save the day. What makes things even more weird is that Corpsegrinder was actually still in Monstrosity at the time, and they were slotted to record an album at Morrisound later that fall of the same year. And I think that really shows you how tight-knit the death metal community was at this time. All of the band members of the different bands knew each other for the most part. They knew who sucked at drums, who was good at drums, who was an awesome guitar player, who was the best vocalist, and they all kind of like talked crap about each other and encouraged each other at the same time. So it was a very competitive, up-and-coming sort of genre of music, from my understanding, from reading some of these interviews and articles from this time. And for anybody out there that doesn't know, the album Created to Kill was later renamed Vile once they put Corpsegrinder's vocals on that album, and he just totally knocked it out of the park. He understood the technical riffing and how his vocals could fit in with those just insane patterns. Probably my favorite song on Vile is the song Devoured by Vermin, which is the song that actually got me into more extreme death metal in general. Corpsegrinder is still the vocalist of Cannibal Corpse to this day, and I actually saw them with my wife when they came to Nashville earlier this fall, and I actually have a video on this channel documenting that experience if you want to check that out. I'm a huge fan of Cannibal Corpse because they have totally reshaped what extreme death metal is. They've always pushed themselves with every record, creating more interesting riffs, and the production value has gone up over the years, and they've just become just a foundational band in the genre. And I just respect the crap out of all of those guys for just staying true to who they are. And I think like if Cannibal Corpse could do what they did in the early 90s with the extremity of their music and lyrics and album covers, I think more bands can do even more insane stuff today and reinvent genres of metal and really do something unique and great for the genre. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what this pedal actually is. It is a distortion pedal and a preamp pedal, so if you want to run this into the effects loop of an amp, you can certainly do that way. You could put some type of clean power amp device after this pedal and use this as a preamp going into a speaker cabinet. This pedal would really excel at that, or you could just plug it into the clean channel of any high headroom amplifier. So Joe says that this pedal is a nod to the From Beyond in Human Condition albums from the band Massacre. It's also capable of a majority of the tones heard on Demolition Hammer, Obituary, and Atheist albums, to what he says is the absolute banger, Morgoth. So if you like death metal and speed metal, Joe says that this pedal is for you. I love both of those things, so that's why I got it. This pedal is described as being razor sharp, but also wide range, meaning you can get a variety of different awesome distortion sounds from this pedal. The Ultra Mid EQ, which is right here, is in fact a modded version of the one found in the Ampeg VH140C, but with 6 mid peaks, which are all fully sweepable. The pedal also features a matched high control with a high sweep and a hard set peak valuation for maximum dive bomb and harmonic retention. The gain structure is JFET IC bass running rail to rail 18 volts for massive headroom and output, as well as allowing for top end harmonics and low end saturation to be retained without artifaction of chord ring out dive bomb whammy expressions. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is plug this into my Mesa Boogie JP2C. I've got it mic'd up with a Shure SM57. We're gonna be running this into the clean channel first. I'm also capturing the sound of this pedal with the Mesa Boogie Cab Clone DI output on the back, which sounds pretty much exactly like if you were to mic it up yourself, only better. And with that out of the way, let's listen to what the Corpsegrinder sounds like. there you go, guys. That is my demo and review of the Corpsegrinder from Void Manufacturing. My hat is off to Joe with this pedal. I just think it's an amazing device. If you're into heavy metal and you're really into that old school death metal Morrisound thing, I think it really does that thing and a whole lot more thanks to those mid sweeps and the mid peak on that pedal. So, you know, if you didn't have anything else, let's say you had like a speaker cabinet, a power amp, and that pedal, you could get away with just using that for your tone, and you'd have a lot of variety just with that one thing. Another thing I wanted to mention is that you may have noticed that I didn't have an intro song in this video, and that's just because it's been one heck of a week making content and just working in general for me. Next week, I've got some really exciting surprises for you guys. I've got a really cool cover song that I'm actually going to use the Corpsegrinder in the cover song. I think you're going to be, you know, at least somewhat impressed or excited about what I show you next week on this channel. And I'm really excited to do that. So that's coming up soon. I'm reviewing a guitar stand, a brand new guitar stand design from X-Vive. That's coming out actually not till the end of November. And then I've got a couple other tricks up my sleeve for December. Another thing I wanted to say is if you haven't heard my new song from my death metal project Zaphon, please check that out. I've got a link in the description below. And then on December 1st, I'm actually dropping another new song. It's going to be called Tabernacle Within, and that is actually one of the first songs I wrote for the Zaphon project, and I'm really excited to share that song with you guys. So if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, please subscribe. Please turn all the notifications on. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of the Corpsegrinder, or maybe just tell me about some other pedals that you're really excited about. I always love talking with you guys about gear, about guitar playing. You know, hit me up if you're interested in guitar lessons, if you want to up your guitar playing game. Send me an email, drewcrealmusic@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And with all of that, have a fantastic weekend and day wherever you're at, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.